All right, guys. So this is an '85 Dodge D150. Um, this is my brother's truck, and yes, it does run on lean burn, and it actually does run quite well. Um, as some of you may have heard, we actually took. Let me get the light on. That might help. We took an 80. One of the last years of lean burn, like an 87 318 lean burn computer off a BBD 2 barrel truck. Because what we found was the computer was not advancing the timing on the distributor right there. So, lean burn. It's a really quirky. By this point, this is an '85 truck, and these computers were pretty well straight and figured out. The only issues you find and you'll need to check on is if the computer is advancing, because you can get the trucks to run sometimes, especially with these slant 6 computers, because the slant 6 computers for lean burn actually has 2 pickups. And the lean burn for the V8 has 1. So what we found on the slant 6 is one of the pickups is for the base timing, and one of it is to advance the timing in reference to the base. Well, on the V8s, they only just have 1. So the computers work just slightly different. So what we ended up doing is we found one of the coil, or I don't know what you call them. It gets the electric charge, and it was not sending the correct data. It was broken to the computer, and the computer wasn't reading, and the computer couldn't advance. So we took the V8 computer, because that only used 1 pickup, and we put that in here, and it runs just fine. Basically, so what the lean burn does is it uses vacuum, and it by that vacuum it controls when, or it basically can use the manifold vacuum pressure to measure where the throttle position is. And then it advances the timing, and it also uses vacuum, I believe, as you can see right here, to temperature sense. So it uses all of those different things. It sends that vacuum then. Basically, what it does is that it basically change around the vacuum to where the computer will change the timing. And one of the things that it does do is that computer basically, so here's the vacuum line to that computer, right? You can see this vacuum line right here. So what this vacuum line does, and this one runs right here, basically is it senses your throttle position. And then the computer from there helps to control your timing and change it. Now, on startup, basically what it does is it has this startup routine where it wants to dump a lot of fuel to light off the cats there, like that cat converter right there. So it'll dump a lot of fuel and to light the cats through its startup routine. I don't know if anywhere there's a written specified amount of time that it does that, but I know that it does do that because it does send out a lot of fuel in the cat on this as well. There's no more catalytic converter stuff, and it's not like it's cadmium anyways. It's not anything expensive. So that's what that basically does, and then it gets into just your standard running. Now when standard running, they really, the way that lean burn works, because it is an electronic ignition. Basically, it has like a standard set maximum timing, so it looks at your throttle position, and it'll actually give you all your timing that you would want and need if you hit the throttle position down, because it senses by the vacuum pressure. But when you're just standard like driving it and not getting too much into it, it'll feel slow right away off of startup and whatnot, because, or if you let it sit for a while, because there is a timer that once it feels that your throttle position has opened, like if you're at part throttle, for every 30 seconds you're at part throttle, the computer will add, I believe it's 30 seconds. The computer will add, it's either 30 or 10. It's not, I know it's between those two, but it'll add 2 degrees of timing up to a set maximum to increase fuel efficiency, because these single barrel carbs on these run really lean. And then I believe it's every minute. It could be every 30 seconds too, that you are off the throttle when it's just idling. It will reduce that timing. And that had to do with some EPA emissions and stuff. So that's kind of how they work. Again, issues you can run into, and the way to diagnose them. So some of the issues you will run into on these, obviously, is so the wiring on here, or the vacuum hoses, they don't tell you which goes to where. There are some diagrams you can find out there to help you figure out where they route. Now, another issue, so you have on some of the early ones, is especially the early ones, and the early Chrysler fuel injection when they had the mechanical, and the tiny ones, like the 80 to 81 cars that had like this type of setup. When you would go under a high voltage electric line, it would mess with the computer system and set the timing to maximum, whatever the maximum was set, and so the engines would just die. Basically, they'd explode. I mean, other than that, we haven't really ran into too many issues after we figured out that, like, so we found the diagrams for like the lean burn system and which wires go where, and it just was not advancing the timing. So we just checked, because when you hit the throttle, the timing should advance, so it didn't work. And then we had an 87-318 lean burn computer, same hookups, same everything. Plugged that in, and basically, because we realized then when we plugged that in, it only had one advance, like one pickup to advance in there in the distributor. So we realized that we could get it to work that way, and then we just set the initial timing, and it was advancing. But again, there are differences in the factory tune between the two, but they hook up between each other, which is pretty cool. But I would be interested one day in seeing, yeah, I'd have to see what a BBD 318 the vacuum setup has, because this has 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4 or 5 vacuum hookups, and we do have a BBD from this here. So I'd be interested in seeing how we could hook that up, but then we could do a 2-barrel setup for the lean burn and not be so slow. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the lean burn. If you have a lean burn and it is working, then that's good. A lot of times the issues I've seen is the vacuum hookups, because the vacuum hookups are so confusing. If you really don't know what you're doing, you can mess that up. And again, another thing that'll happen, I believe there is a diaphragm. Oh gosh, diaphragm. In this, there's a little, you see this right here? That is a like a diaphragm. I believe the vacuum pulls on that, and that's what tells the signal that to start advancing the timing. And it also, I believe it. My best guess is it varies the voltage, telling the computer what to do. Another interesting thing is you see this hose here, maybe. Yeah, you see this hose here. That hose also, it takes in and tells the computer what the temperature of the air is too. So that's also another interesting thing too. Pretty cool. But again, if it being that it's a stock slant 6, and it works right now for us, we're not going to switch it.